So I want to show you my bike, my old road bike, which was the Dessel Motivus Maximus. It's right behind me here. And it's been a fantastic bike. I've had it since February of 2017, and I've really enjoyed riding it. It's been really good, but unfortunately this bike has reached the end of its life, and if you stick around, I'll tell you why. As I mentioned in the opening, I got this Dessel Motivus Maximus in February of 2017, and it's been my only road bike since then. And it's been a great bike. Really enjoyed it. It handles great, very fast, feels good when I'm riding it down the road. Unfortunately, though, about a year ago, maybe more, I started noticing kind of a creaking sound when I was climbing. Like if I was out of the saddle, climbing hard, I noticed a creaking sound. And more recently, it changed from a creaking sound to chain rub, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I looked at the derailleur, looked at my adjustments, everything was fine, but I was getting chain rub. Well, it turns out there is a crack in my frame. It's in the left chainstay, just behind the bottom bracket, and I think it's allowing the frame to flex just enough that the chain makes contact with the chain catcher when I'm out of the saddle. So, unfortunately, the Dessel is going to be taken apart, and I'll make it into something else. I shot the original video back at the end of April, early May, and it was beautiful, but today it's really kind of yucky and gross, which I guess is fitting because I'm about to take this bike apart forever, and I'll never be able to ride it again, so I'm a little bit sad, but on the other hand, I've got a new project coming, so watch me take this bike apart, and then you can see what I do with the pieces. So I've got my Dessel Motivus Maximus up on the work stand here, and I'm going to start a time lapse, and then I'm just going to work from peripheral items like bar tape and accessories and just work down towards the core of the bike and take everything off so that I can reuse those parts on a new project. So the first thing I did was take the rear wheel off, and I took some pictures of the crack in the frame because I want to be able to show this to Dessel and see if maybe they can help me out with a warranty or whatever. And once I had that done, then I moved on to taking the bar tape off, just unwrap the bars on both sides, flip the hoods up on the levers, and then I got a Allen wrench and undid the screw end bar plugs. And then I started removing the seat post, check that out, make sure it's good, pulled the seat post clamp off, and then started removing the bottle cages. Like I said, I'm just kind of working from peripheral items down towards the more fundamental stuff. Then I got the cables loosened on all the brakes and derailleurs, and then started pulling those components off. Undoing the cables from the bars, because I had some tape on the cables underneath the bar tape. Got that undone. Undid the front derailleur, took off the rear brake, undid the crank, took off the left crank arm, obviously, and then pulled the crank out of the bottom bracket. And then removed the rear derailleur. And then I pulled all the cables out of the bike. But before I did, I actually ran the tubing that came with the frame, which I saved. I ran that back in there because the Motivus has internal routing. And if I ever fix this thing or whatever I do with it, it'd be nice to have the internal routing guide stuff in there so that I can put the cables back in if I need to. So I made sure to put all the tubing back in. Pulled the stem off, cleaned everything up, pulled the bike off the fork, and then went in and removed the headset parts from the fork, and then removed the front brake caliper from the fork too. And it's amazing how fast you can take a bike apart. There's really not that many fasteners when you think about it. So here's what's left of the Motivus after I took it all apart. So you can see I got the frame set here and the fork. And I'm really sad to see this bike go because it was really a fun bike. I'll just tell you a little bit more about it. Like I said, I got this in February of 2017, and I got it because I had wrecked my previous bike in a bad crash, and I needed a new road bike. So I knew about the Motivus from a brief article I think I saw in Bicycling Magazine where they mentioned some features of the bike, and I thought it was really interesting because you can set this bike up for rim brakes, which is how I was using it, or it also has disc brake mounts. So you can put flat mount disc brake on it with a different fork. This is the rim brake fork, but if you get the disc brake fork, then you can set this bike up as either rim brake or disc brake. And it's a road bike. It has reasonable geometry, but it's not super aggressive. So for me, the little bit taller head tube and a little more stack on this bike was a good fit. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was just a fantastic bike. It was very unusual. I think it looks really cool because it has a bare carbon fiber finish, so it's just got like a matte clear coat over the bare carbon fiber. And I like the logos and everything. in a way, some parts of them are maybe a little garish, you know, like the Motivus Maximus along the top tube there. Is maybe a little bit much for some people, but I just thought it was a really cool bike, and I'm sad to see it go. But I have another bike lined up, and I've pulled all the components off the Motivus, and here they all are laid out. Those are going to go onto a new bike, so stay tuned for that video. I'm going to be building that bike up here as soon as possible because I want to get back on the road with a good road bike. So rest in peace, Motivus Maximus. It was a great bike while it lasted. I might see if maybe Calfee or somebody like that can fix it, but won't be riding it anymore as is, and I'm going to be building up something new, so stay tuned to see what that is.